Before Apple, before Amazon, Warren Buffett made billions from chewing gum and insurance. But then one man told him he was thinking all wrong and changed the course of investing history forever. His name, Charlie Munger. You probably think of Warren Buffett as a lone genius, sitting behind a cherrywood desk in Omaha, calculating the next billion-dollar move in his head. But the truth is, behind the curtain of Berkshire Hathaway, behind every bold pivot and every quietly brilliant acquisition, there was someone else whispering in his ear. Not a partner, not a mentor, a philosopher, a contrarian, a ruthless logician with a lawyer's precision and a wit sharper than Wall Street's sharpest suit. Charlie Munger didn't just help Buffett get richer, he helped him think better. Back in the 1960s, Buffett was a devout disciple of Ben Graham, scooping up so-called cigar-butt stocks, companies so cheap you could suck a few last puffs of value before tossing them. It worked. Buffett made money buying garbage, but he was building a junkyard, not an empire. And then he met Charlie. Munger looked at Buffett's portfolio and said, "You're being stupid." Buffett, who was used to being the smartest guy in any room, didn't flinch. Instead, he listened. Munger's message was simple. Stop buying crap just because it's cheap. Buy great businesses even if you have to pay up. This wasn't just a tweak. It was a philosophical overhaul. Munger introduced Buffett to a new way of thinking, a latticework of mental models, a kind of intellectual scaffolding built from biology, psychology, economics, engineering, even physics. He believed that to make good decisions in the real world, you couldn't think in silos. You had to steal wisdom from every discipline, stack it together, and use it to dismantle bad ideas. And bad ideas? Wall Street had plenty. While analysts were building overly complex DCF models and spinning tales about dot-com dreams, Munger was reading biology textbooks and math puzzles. While the rest of finance worshipped quarterly earnings, Munger focused on durability, culture, and competitive moats. He once said, "Take a simple idea and take it seriously." That's not just a quote, it was the DNA of Berkshire Hathaway. By the early 1970s, the transformation was underway. No longer chasing discarded steel companies or textile plants, Buffett and Munger bought See's candies, not because it was cheap, but because it had an almost religious pricing power. Then came Geeko, then Coca-Cola. They didn't just buy stocks, they bought brands that stuck in people's brains like gum on a shoe. And through it all, Munger stayed in the background, sniping bad logic, mocking irrational exuberance, and occasionally unleashing deadpan burns that would make a comedian jealous. One analyst asked him how Berkshire avoided the tech bubble. Munger said, "We just didn't invest in things we didn't understand. It's not hard." But don't mistake Munger's simplicity for passivity. Behind the scenes, he was a force of nature. His fingerprints are all over Berkshire's pivot to quality compounders, companies like Costco, which Munger praised endlessly, even joining its board. And while Buffett was always the warm, avuncular sage, Munger was the cold blade of rationality. He believed in inversion, the mental trick of solving problems by thinking backwards. "Tell me where I'm going to die," he famously quipped. "So I won't go there." It sounds like a joke, but it's deadly serious. It's how Munger avoided disaster, not just in investments, but in life. And yet, for all his brilliance, Munger never chased the spotlight. He didn't launch a fund, didn't build a media brand. He ran a tiny newspaper company, the Daily Journal, and turned it into a hidden investment powerhouse, a quiet shrine to his ideas. As the decades passed, Munger became more than a sidekick. He became a cult figure, a mental dojo for thinkers, founders, and fund managers. His speeches at Berkshire meetings were devoured like scripture, his aphorisms. "The world is not driven by greed, it's driven by envy," became tattoos on the minds of capitalists everywhere. By the time Buffett was praised for holding on to Apple, it wasn't just the Oracle of Omaha at work. It was the echo of Charlie Munger telling him, "Don't sell a compounding machine just because it got expensive. Hold. Let greatness run." But here's the twist. Munger didn't care about being remembered. He cared about truth. And his ultimate truth? That most people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they don't think clearly. They chase complexity. They get seduced by noise. They ignore the obvious. Munger's entire career was a war on that stupidity. He rewired Buffett's brain. But more than that, he rewired thousands of others, not by building an empire, but by building a mental model of how to think better, clearer, longer. Now look around. Every major fund manager today talks about moats, psychology, patience, and quality. They quote Munger without even knowing it. He became the intellectual North Star of modern investing, not because he wanted to, but because his ideas were simply too powerful to ignore. So when you think of Berkshire Hathaway, don't just picture Warren Buffett with his Coca-Cola and his cherry Coke grin. Picture Charlie Munger, sitting off to the side. Glasses low on his nose. Quiet, brutal, brilliant, and always thinking. The man who once said, "The big money is not in the buying or the selling, but in the waiting." Who reminded us, if you keep learning all the time, you have a wonderful advantage. Who warned, it's not supposed to be easy. Anyone who finds it easy is stupid. And who could silence a room with one sentence, "I have nothing to add." He taught that arrogance is fatal. A lot of success in life and business comes from knowing what you want to avoid: early death, a bad marriage, etc. He rejected the hype machine of Wall Street. It's remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent. And his advice was often the most human. You don't have to pee on an electric fence to learn not to do it. He was more than Buffett's partner. He was capitalism's conscience. Its ghostwriter, its architect. Because in a world full of noise, Charlie Munger taught us how to think. And that is why he changed everything. I'm Jim, and this is History Decoded.